You don't feel like something is wrong, and that's exactly why this message is dangerous. If your life were clearly falling apart, you would act. If pain were loud, you would respond, but your problem is quieter than that. Things are working, you wake up, you manage, you adjust, you continue. Nothing is broken enough to fix, and that is how most lives drift away from themselves. Understand this clearly: what destroys a human life is not chaos, it is slow comfort without direction. You are not lost, you are unquestioned. No one is stopping you anymore. No one is challenging you anymore. No inner voice is interrupting you strongly enough so you assume everything is fine. But let me tell you something uncomfortable. When life stops interrupting you, it's not because you're aligned, it's because you've stopped listening. You think ignoring inner signals saves energy, but it doesn't. It only postpones payment, and payment is always collected later with interest. Right now, the cost is invisible. Later it becomes irreversible. People think collapse looks dramatic, but it doesn't. Collapse looks like losing urgency, accepting half desires, calling exhaustion maturity, calling numbness stability. You didn't become lazy. You became unresponsive to yourself, and that is far more dangerous. In the Mahabharat, the greatest warriors did not fall because they lacked skill. They fell because they ignored the moment they should have acted differently. Not wrong actions, but delayed ones, and delay is not neutral. Delay is a decision disguised as patience. Right now, there is one area of your life you keep postponing clarity in. You already know which one. You don't avoid it because it's hard. You avoid it because once you face it, you will not be able to live the same way again. Ignoring it lets you continue comfortably, but comfort without alignment slowly erases authority, and once inner authority is gone, life still moves, but it stops obeying you. Opportunities don't announce their last visit. Energy doesn't warn before leaving. People don't say when they stop waiting. Everything fades politely. That's why most people never realize what they lost. They only feel the absence. If you think this message is harsh, good, because softness would have bounced off you. You didn't need reassurance. You needed interruption. In the next part, I will tell you what exactly humans ignore first, why ignoring it feels harmless, and why once crossed, everything still works but for someone you no longer recognize. And after that point, effort increases but results shrink. If you feel slightly unsettled right now, this message has reached the correct place. People don't ignore their problems, they ignore their position. They stop asking a dangerous question: what phase am I actually in? You keep treating every season of life the same effort, same patience, same tolerance, same excuses, but life does not operate in sameness, it operates in windows. Some windows ask for rest, some ask for risk, some ask for silence, some ask for action, and missing the right response at the right time doesn't create immediate damage, it creates mistiming. Mistiming is subtle, it feels like bad luck, it looks like wasted effort, it sounds like I tried, but it didn't work. But the truth is simpler and harsher. You tried the right thing at the wrong time. Humans are taught to be consistent. Life demands accuracy. You keep pushing when the phase requires adjustment. You keep waiting when the phase requires movement. You keep explaining when the phase requires decision. And because nothing collapses instantly, you assume your approach is fine, but it isn't. In the Mahabharat, wars were not lost because of weak armies. They were lost because of delayed recognition. When a signal appears and is ignored repeatedly, life stops sending it gently and it changes the format. First, it whispers, then it distracts, then it complicates, and finally, it blocks. By the time most people act, they are no longer choosing, they are responding to damage. Right now, you are still in the signal phase. That is rare. You feel a mild dissatisfaction that you can't logically justify. You feel drawn to change but resistant to discomfort. You feel capable but strangely unmotivated. This is not confusion, this is pre-decision tension. Your system knows a shift is required. Your habits want familiarity, and so you stay in between. But in between is not neutral, it slowly drains force. The first thing humans ignore is timing awareness. They keep asking, what should I do? Instead of asking, is this the moment to do it? The same action done early creates momentum. Done late, it creates struggle. Done too late, it creates regret. You don't need more effort, you need better alignment with time. That's why some people move ahead with less struggle. Not because they are smarter, but because they respond when the window is open. And here is what almost no one tells you. Once a window closes, life doesn't punish you, it simply removes the option. You don't fail loudly, you settle quietly. You adapt to reduce possibilities and call it realism. If this feels uncomfortably accurate, that's intentional, because now, I will explain how to identify the exact window you are in, why ignoring it feels safer than acting, and what irreversible shift happens when a window is missed completely. After that point, discipline increases, but freedom decreases. And if this message touched your heart today, and you feel inspired to support this seva, you can purchase Ko-fi. The link is pinned in the comment section below. Your kindness keeps this devotional work alive. Stay here. This message is not about motivation, it is about positioning, and positioning decides outcomes long before effort does. You don't miss the right moment because you're unaware. You miss it because acting would change your identity, and humans resist identity shifts more than pain. Every meaningful window demands a version of you that does not yet exist. Not a better version, but a different one. Different priorities, different boundaries, different courage, different losses, and loss is the part no one advertises. You are not afraid of effort. You are afraid of what you'll have to stop being loyal to. The moment you act at the right time, something familiar ends. A role you've been playing, a story people expect from you, a comfort you've been hiding inside, an excuse that protected your image. So instead of missing the moment accidentally, you miss it strategically. You delay clarity, you collect more information, you wait for certainty, but certainty never comes before action. It forms after movement. That's why windows exist only briefly. They are not designed for confidence. They are designed for response. Right now, something in your life is asking for a response that feels premature, not logical, not safe, not validated, and because it lacks approval, you label it impulsive, but it isn't. It's timing sensitive. Most people wait until action feels justified. By then, it's already outdated. Look carefully at your past. The decisions that changed you most were not made when you felt ready. They were made when staying the same felt heavier than moving, and that weight is building again. But here's the part people don't like hearing. If you don't choose when the moment arrives, life will choose for you later without options. Not as punishment, but as completion. You think delay keeps doors open, but it doesn't. It quietly closes the one you needed, and when that door is gone, life offers a smaller substitute and calls it practical. You don't lose everything at once. You lose range. Range of choices, range of outcomes, range of identity, and slowly, your world shrinks without you noticing. This is why two people can work equally hard and end up in different lives. One responded during the window, the other perfected patience past its expiry. And understand this clearly. You are not behind, but you are approaching the edge of relevance for one internal decision. If that sentence made you uncomfortable, good. Because now you will know what happens after a window is missed. Why effort increases but satisfaction disappears, and how people mistake endurance for destiny. After that point, life doesn't feel cruel. It feels repetitive, and repetition is the quietest form of loss. When timing is ignored for too long, people don't lose motivation first. They lose clarity. The ability to sense what actually matters weakens. Everything starts demanding attention at the same time. Nothing feels urgent, yet everything feels heavy. This is where life becomes busy and strangely unproductive. You start working harder, but your effort stops landing where it should. You push in areas that only need adjustment. You wait in areas that quietly require action. You solve side problems while the real one stays untouched. This is not laziness. This is misdirected energy, and slowly, something more serious happens. Your inner signals stop interrupting you, not because you're finally right, but because they've been ignored too often. Every signal has a lifespan. At first, it disturbs you, then it repeats, then it softens, eventually, it withdraws. And when that withdrawal happens, life feels calmer. But calm without clarity is not peace, it's numbness. This is when people say, "I don't know what I want anymore." Not because desire disappeared, but because connection did. Once clarity fades, decisions stop coming from inside. They start coming from convenience, habit, and pressure. Deadlines decide for you, circumstances decide for you, other people's momentum carries you forward. You call this responsibility, but it is actually reactive living. You are no longer authoring your direction, you are maintaining one. That's why achievements stop satisfying. That's why rest doesn't refresh. That's why even good days feel unfinished. Nothing is broken externally. What's missing is alignment, and here is the most dangerous part. When clarity fades, you stop trusting discomfort. You explain it away, you label it overthinking, you treat it like a mood, but discomfort is not random, it's information. Ignoring information doesn't stop consequences, it only delays them. This is the quiet line most people cross without realizing it, from choosing to enduring. Endurance looks mature, but endurance without alignment slowly turns into self-abandonment. And when self-abandonment becomes normal, life doesn't need to take anything from you. You slowly hand it over. Energy, curiosity, edge, direction. Not all at once, piece by piece. If this feels uncomfortably accurate, good, because now I will tell you why this phase often gets rewarded, not corrected. How people confuse it with stability, and the one signal that tells you whether reversal is still possible. After a certain point, awareness is no longer enough. Something has to break. There is only one thing you need to check now. Not your situation, not your resources, not your past mistakes. Check this instead. Can you still feel resistance when you imagine staying exactly the same? Not panic, not fear, but resistance. A quiet, internal refusal. If some part of you still tightens at the thought of repeating this version of life, you are not late. That tension is not dissatisfaction, it is unspent potential pushing back. As long as that resistance exists, reversal is possible because loss does not begin when things go wrong. It begins when sameness feels acceptable. Most people don't lose their path. They slowly make peace with a reduced one. They stop wanting more clarity. They stop wanting more depth. They stop wanting alignment. They don't give up. They settle. And settling feels responsible until years later it feels unbearable. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Life does not collapse when you ignore timing. It contracts. Your options narrow. Your risks shrink. Your desires become practical instead of honest. And because contraction happens slowly, you adapt. You become efficient in a smaller life. That is the real danger. But if right now, even after everything you've heard, something in you still says, this cannot be it, then your inner authority is still alive. Maybe weak, quiet, maybe, but alive, and what is alive can be strengthened. However, understand this clearly. Resistance without response expires. If you keep feeling it and doing nothing, it will not stay forever. It will turn into resignation, and resignation does not hurt, it just dulls. This is the last stage before people stop questioning their lives entirely, so do not romanticize patience here. This phase is not asking for endurance, it is asking for one honest shift, not a public announcement, not a dramatic leap, not a perfect plan, just one internal commitment to stop ignoring what you already recognize. Because once resistance is gone, even truth sounds irrelevant. And when truth becomes irrelevant, life doesn't need to block you. You'll block yourself. Do you know how to respond without destroying your stability? How to act without burning everything down, and how to move before resistance turns into numbness? This is not about urgency. It's about timing before silence. Here is how you respond without burning your life down, without announcing change, without chasing intensity. You don't need a breakthrough, you need precision. Most people think action means doing more, but it doesn't. Right action usually begins by stopping one thing. One delay you keep justifying, one habit that numbs decision-making, one conversation you avoid because it would force clarity, one responsibility you carry that no longer belongs to you. Not everything, just one. Timing is not honored through chaos, it is honored through clean movement. That's why dramatic changes fail. They exhaust energy instead of aligning it. The correct response always feels smaller than expected but heavier than comfort. If you're wondering, how will I know which step? You already do. It's the one you keep postponing because it would quietly change how you see yourself. And listen carefully now, you do not owe your old identity a lifetime contract. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself without proving they were wrong. You are allowed to move before everyone understands. You are allowed to respond to timing without explaining the clock you're reading. Most people wait for permission. Life only gives signals, and signals expire. Not loudly, not angrily, they simply stop appearing. This is why some people wake up one day and say, I don't know when it happened. Let me tell you, it happened slowly, during ignored moments, during postponed honesty, during comfortable repetition, but that is not your position right now. You are still in the moment before silence, where awareness still exists, where resistance still speaks, where choice still feels possible. This is the last clean phase. After this, movement costs more. Clarity arrives through loss, and lessons become heavier. So don't rush, but don't delay either. Respond once, cleanly, quietly. That single response will realign more than motivation ever could, because life does not reward intensity, it responds to timing. And when timing is honored, even small steps change the entire direction. This message ends here, not because the work is done, but because the next move is not mine, it's yours, and you already know what it is.